Hey, it's Stu. And yesterday I went to the Friends of the Library bookstore sale with full intention of only getting 2 books, which are my 2 free books, which I get each time I visit it. And they had an enormous amount of donations, very specifically in the fiction shelves. They were working so hard to try to shelf them. Things were double shelved, things were out of order, as they would be with this amount of volume. And so I was like going to the table full of signed books, which is such an interesting concept for me that I care about a signed book when I 100% unhaul. But I do. I like the story of the book too. That was a sidebar. So, with sort of like frenzy in the air, they were like, if you can take more, if you have time to look around and get some more books, please do. So I ended up spending under $20, but getting more than 2 books, which were my 2 free books, which didn't hold true to my commitment. And I'm okay with that. Like, I could have donated $20 to them, but what they wanted was books to be gone. I anticipate, especially when and if I move, which will be this year, I'm going to have to do a massive unhaul, and they'll get them back in a box if I haven't read them, and/or I'll just go around and distribute to little free libraries indiscriminately, and then just be like, I'll rehaul when I re-regulate my space. That's a lot of information. Let's get into the book, shall we? The Mars Room, a novel by Rachel Kushner. Rachel Kushner was sort of on I ran into a Rachel Kushner book, or was told about a Rachel Kushner book, which wasn't this one, during summer. So she hit the summer reading potential shelf, just digital. Familiar with the author, excited to give her a try. I haven't tried her yet. This is an LA author, and yeah. This book, when I read the synopsis, which is about women in a penitentiary, it reminded me a little of Ivy Pochoda, who's also an LA author, who I thought did an excellent job in the Sing Her Down. I really loved that book. I really liked that book, I think is the right thing to say. So this book follows some folks incarcerated, in a correctional facility deep in California's Central Valley. And I think the world actually could use more literature which explores the experiences of women in correctional facilities. I feel like that's still quite hidden from us, and where women haven't really necessarily been so afflicted directly, of course indirectly, by the prison industrial complex. There's still stories, their lives, their situations that should be contemplated. Oh, yay, an Elliott Bay book company bookmark comes with this book. I usually leave them in there until I read the book, and then I pull them out, and I collect the bookmarks too. Hoard much? Anyway, this book was published in 2018. Okay, around the normal time that I find books in these thrifting free situations. The next is a book that I'm excited for. I read Carlos Fuentes when I did, my undergrad in Latin American literature. Anyway, wow, I'm thinking back so many years ago. I don't think this is a book in translation. Lies. Edith Grossman translated this. So Carlos Fuentes is the author. He's a Mexican author. I'm familiar. He's a well-known, well-acclaimed Mexican author. And Edith Grossman is the translator for this. This is called Happy Families, and they are short stories. Latinx/Hispanic Heritage Month is upon us. So I'm excited to find this because I wouldn't be terribly surprised if this ends up on a TBR for the month of October, because having a nice short story on a TBR is really helpful. And I like to read short stories intermittently or all the way through. So super excited to find this Fuentes in the Friends of the Library stacks. It's a great condition, hardback. Sometimes I just wonder how I continue to find these books in these really amazing conditions and build a shelf that I then just completely unhaul. Okay, the next was also I was pretty excited to find, and I probably would have picked up, I would have paid for. I usually use the 2 free books for hardbacks. This book, even if they hadn't really encouraged me to keep going, and that's Telephone by Percival Everett. I've read one Percival Everett book. It's on a review video. I think most of us that know that he won the National Book Award last year. He won the Pulitzer Prize this year for James. Spoke with one of the volunteers. She's currently listening to James, and she says it's a great listen. So I am more and more acclimating myself to audiobooks, and that might be how I access James. In the meantime, Telephone was up for the Pulitzer, I think the year before. Oh, it comes with a bookmark too. Okay, I'll get there. Oh, lies. This is 2020. No lies, 2020. So it's a 5-year-old book. But it was in contention for the Pulitzer probably in 2021, depending on the publication date. And as I think several of Percival Everett's work, this is another Californian author. And I think these are the only 2 American authors in this stack, both from California. Super excited for this book. I just want to say that. Also coming with a bookmark, really exciting, with a quote on the back. Okay. Yeah, this is a Haitian Canadian author, also coming with a bookmark. Like what? Like every one of these books have a little secret bookmark in them. This is Miriam J.A. Chansey. This book is a Aspen Words Literary Prize finalist. I'm not familiar with that prize, so one of the things that I was compelled to was, of course, the cover. There were so many books, and I was like, I don't have time to be incredibly discerning, and I also don't want to be incredibly exploratory either. I want to kind of save that for the little free libraries and the St. Vincent de Paul 10 for $5 sort of thing. So, of course, Stunning by Margaret Atwood pulled me, and the cover pulled me. I don't have many, if any, Haitian. Oh, it's hard for me to recall my entire shelf right now. Authors, so I'm excited to have that representation. And I don't see that this is translated, so it's written in English. Yeah. And I want to look up that prize and see what it's about. Okay, I've heard about Juno and Juliet. This is a young A, or at least these are young characters. I love coming of age. So that enough for me. I am trying to be really careful about getting young adult or even middle grade books because I don't want to take the opportunity away. I don't want them on my shelf too long when there are young adult and middle grade readers who probably could use just finding a book in a little free library, and especially depending on if it's ending up in the more and more extensive and ridiculous banned book lists. And anyways, this is an Irish author, and in my most recent I think I was doing my TBR, and I said the Irish authors that I've read as of late have not been light and fluffy. They've been really intense and sophisticated in their intense exploration of tragedy and sadness. But this one says, by the New York Book Times Book Review, intelligent, lighthearted, and thoroughly entertaining. Short read. This is the book that I think I will need to pick up when I need a book that is that intelligent, lighthearted, and thoroughly entertaining. Juno and Juliet are twins, I believe. They're high school aged. They're going to, I think, what's called college in Ireland, which is high school in the US, and encountering life experiences, love, helping each other out, about siblings, about coming of age, to the best of my, and also Sending Ireland. Okay, so so far, as I said, we have 2 American authors, both contemporary, both based in California. Then we have a Mexican in translation author, Carlos Fuentes. Then we have What Storm, What Thunder, Haitian author, Haitian Canadian in English. And we have Juno and Juliet by Julian Gao, an Irish author, young adult, or at least story, young characters. Next, we have Euphoria. Okay, this was like being put on the shelf as they were trying to organize right under my nose, and I was trying to, help reorganize the shelves. Double stacking gets a bit complicated, right? Ellen Kohlhead is Swedish. It would be like my 3rd Swedish author on my shelf. This is in translation. The translation is by Jennifer Hayashida. Yeah, Hayashida. And what an amazing cover. It's called Euphoria. This book is about Sylvia Plath. Yeah. Where can I see myself reading this? I have one Sylvia Plath on my, I think I've moved her to classics, because indeed she is classic. I remember when I hauled the Sylvia Plath, which is out of a little free library, I was like, do I want classics? I'm not in a classic vibe these days. Read and taught a lot of classics in my life. And then I think one of the things that happened was the 50th anniversary of Mrs. Dalloway came up, and I had to listen to it, which was a new challenge. And then I read a couple retellings, like of the Brothers Karamazov, Antigone, and I was like, you know what? I think I should have those books around if I find them. Because again, this is a 100% unhaul sort of situation I have in my life. I live in a place where I will not be renting, probably even for the rest of this year. But if I ever own or have an extended lease, then I will know how to build my library through this experience, right? Another sidebar. I apologize. This book explores, I think, the life of Sylvia Plath as told by this Swedish author. When I read it, I think I'll pull out the Sylvia Plath and read it, at least in the same sort of reading series or TBR. Finally, another international author who is currently, so it's Roddy Doyle, and Roddy Doyle was the chair of this year's Booker Prize, and was in fact a Booker winner in 1993, and it was for this book. I'm pretty sure. I might have to fact check myself using that thing called the internet, but sometimes they put these stickers, and the stickers aren't for the book. They're a bit misleading, because the sticker maybe is for the author. Because just as winner of the 1993 Booker Prize, and that in itself, being close to the title, indicates to me that it's probably for the title. And I would always think it's for the title, but it's happened to me more than one time that I've looked it up and it's, the author won it for another book. Also fine. I'm that it being a prize winner makes, a difference, in as much as I understand that had some hype by literary critics, perhaps. But I haven't been a big fan of any Booker, many Booker winners. In fact, they've kind of been misses for me. And then it also helps me curate, if I want to do prize winners, or now it's a Booker Prize season. So maybe, especially because Roddy Doyle he's the chair. So he felt really relevant to the time. I was able to recognize his name. And that's the reason that I pulled this off the shelf. Patty Clark, ha ha ha. And this makes me want to read this book too. Like, this book is from the 90s. It's 1993, right? Which is my second recent haul of a 90s book. You don't find them that much anymore, right? Things kind of have to become classics and then get their reprint, etc. One thing I can say about this book, it's stale smelling, and I don't like that. So I'm going to try to see if I can air this book out. I don't want it on my general shelf making the, yeah, it's definitely mildewy smelling. If you have any tips on how to get a mildew smell out of a book that generative AI doesn't have to offer, please let me know. Yeah, I don't want this on my general stack. So what I think, especially because it's Booker Prize season and he was, in fact, they just announced the short list, right? I think my goal will be to not shelve this, to keep it kind of on shelves and lying around, floating around, and then read it before or just after the announcement of the prize so that I can get it off. Now, about putting it into a little free library with that musty smell, I think this is otherwise an amazingly conditioned book. So if I can get rid of it, I'd very much like to redistribute, but I also don't want to redistribute a mildewy smelling book that will impact the other books and or the box. So we'll see when we get to the read, review, and on the haul of this book what happens. In the end of the day, this is historical. This is historical, so I'll go a little into the synopsis. It's 1968, and our main character, Patty or Patrick, is 10. Yay. So what's going to happen? When I see these young characters written by adults and a synopsis starting like that, it's another coming of age, isn't it? Or some kind of coming of age. When I'm thinking about what's happening in that time, which are the Troubles, right? This is really in the Troubles in Ireland. I can't help but think that, of course, if Ireland's the setting, that that's gonna impact some of this story, as it would have been literary / contemporary fiction for its time. I'm excited to see how Roddy Doyle's writing style goes. And I'm also kind of excited, like when I was told, please help us get at least some of these books off. And believe me, this is paltry. They're like, are you sure that's all you got? And I'm like, really, honestly, that's all I got. My shelves are full. Fiction, I was like, okay, I went to little free libraries. There's a kind of authorship, there's a kind of demographic of authorship you find a lot in little free libraries and or other places it's fantastic. I like to read authors from every demographic, but I also don't want, I want to make sure I'm intentionally finding, for instance, books in translation or books by international authors. And that was kind of what was in my mind. And I think in that regard, really successful. 5 of these books are either translated or international, and 2 are American authors, and 2 American authors that I am really, really excited to read. So, successful haul.